I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. You hear about it happening to other people, but you never expect it to happen to you. My name is Jake, and I thought my marriage to my wife, Lisa, was solid. We'd been married for 5 years, and while every relationship has its ups and downs, I genuinely believed we were in a good place. But looking back, there were signs I overlooked. It all started a few months back. Lisa began changing her routine. She started working late more frequently, citing big projects at her advertising firm that required extra hours. At first, I was supportive. After all, it was her career, and I wanted her to succeed. But then she started coming home late, dressed in outfits that were a bit more flashy than usual. I brushed it off, thinking she just wanted to feel confident at work. The lingering scent of expensive perfume that wafted through the house was just her treating herself right. But deep down, I felt a shift, an unease that I couldn't quite pinpoint. There were other signs, too. She became increasingly secretive with her phone. She'd take it everywhere, even bathroom. I noticed her texting more often, chuckling at messages I couldn't see. When I'd ask about it, she'd give me a quick smile and say it was just work-related banter with her colleagues. I wanted to trust her, I really did, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The breaking point came one ordinary evening. I came home early from work, excited to surprise Lisa with her favorite takeout. As I walked through the front door, I heard muffled voices coming from the living room. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was on a call with a coworker. But as I got closer, I realized the tone of the conversation felt too intimate. I paused, heart racing, and peered around the corner. What I saw shattered my heart. There on our living room couch was Lisa, kissing a man who wasn't me. He had his hands on her waist and she was leaning into him, giggling in a way I hadn't heard in years. My gut twisted with betrayal. I stood frozen, feeling my world tilt on its axis. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I wanted to scream, to break the illusion that my life had been a lie, but I couldn't move. Instead, I took out my phone and recorded the moment, feeling sick as I did it but knowing I needed proof. Once they broke apart, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I had to confront her, but I needed to gather my thoughts. I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest, and watched as they continued their flirtation, unaware of the storm that was brewing. I debated my next move. Should I walk in and confront her right then? Or should I wait for her to come to me? The latter felt weak, but I wanted her to squirm. I wanted her to know I knew. After what felt like an eternity, I finally walked in. Lisa's expression shifted from surprise to guilt when she saw me. The man scrambled to gather his things, and I felt a rush of satisfaction at the look of panic on his face. "What the hell is going on here?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. Lisa stammered, her usual confidence evaporating. "Jake, it's not what you think," she exclaimed, trying to regain her composure. The man slipped out the door, leaving me alone with her and my brewing storm of emotions. "Not what I think. It looks pretty damn clear to me, Lisa," I shot back, unable to keep the anger from seeping into my voice. I played the video back for her, each moment replaying like a dagger. Her face turned pale as the reality of her actions set in. She began to cry, and I felt a mix of anger and pity wash over me. "I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't mean for it to happen." "It was just a mistake," she pleaded, the words sounding hollow and insincere. "Just a mistake," I echoed, feeling disbelief wash over me. "You kissed him in our living room, Lisa." Her excuses spilled out, a desperate attempt to explain away her actions. But the more she spoke, the more I felt my heart harden. I was filled with a sense of betrayal that I couldn't shake. Trust shattered, I realized I was standing at a crossroads, and I had to figure out how to move forward from here. As the shock began to settle in, I felt my emotions swirling around me like a storm. I was angry, hurt, and confused. Could I ever trust her again? I didn't know. What I did know was that this was just the beginning. I had to decide what to do next. The days that followed the confrontation were a blur of emotions. After Lisa stumbled through her apologies, I couldn't bear to look at her. I told her to leave the room and give me some space. She did, and I was left with the deafening silence of our home, which suddenly felt like a prison filled with the ghosts of our memories. It was hard to process what had just happened. I spent the night packing back and forth in our bedroom, replaying every moment of that evening in my mind. Every laugh, every touch, every moment of intimacy Lisa had shared with someone else. I felt like a fool, and the anger simmered beneath the surface, mixed with a profound sadness. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed, staring blankly at the wall. My heart ached, and I felt nauseous as reality set in. The woman I had loved and trusted had betrayed me in the most intimate way. I thought we were partners, but it turned out I was just a secondary character in her life story. As the sun rose the next morning, I made the decision to gather my thoughts. I needed clarity. I sat down with my laptop and began to piece together everything I felt, trying to rationalize my emotions. I opened a new document and started typing. How could she do this to me? I wrote. I thought we built a life together. I thought love meant honesty. I poured out my feelings, documenting all the moments of doubt I had ignored, and my heartache morphed into a sense of resolve. The more I wrote, the more my anger transformed into something tangible. I wanted to make her feel the pain I was experiencing, to understand the depth of her betrayal. I decided I wouldn't just sit back and let this go unaddressed. If she was going to break our vows, then I would fight back in the only way I knew how. I went through the footage I had captured that night. I felt a sick thrill watching Lisa laugh with that man, the way her eyes sparkled with mischief. I knew I had to do something drastic. I saved the video and decided to send it to the HR department at her company. She had always prided herself on her professionalism, and I was about to turn her carefully curated image to ashes. As I crafted the message, my heart raced. I could almost hear her protests in my mind. No, she wouldn't take responsibility for her actions. Lisa always had a way of twisting everything around to make herself the victim. But I no longer cared about her excuses. I hit send, feeling a rush of bitter satisfaction. In the days that followed, I watched as Lisa's demeanor changed. She seemed to be on edge, constantly checking her phone and looking over her shoulder as if she was anticipating something. I knew that whatever I had unleashed was weighing heavily on her conscience. I felt a sense of power that I hadn't experienced in a long time, and it was intoxicating. But with that power came a heavy weight. Each day, I woke up feeling a mix of vindication and emptiness. I didn't want to derive pleasure from her suffering, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she had brought this on herself. I didn't want to be the villain in our story, but she had forced my hand. One evening, Lisa approached me, her face pale and her eyes filled with fear. "Jake, please, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. I could see she was struggling to maintain composure. "What is there to talk about, Lisa?" I replied, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You've made your choices. You're the one who decided to betray our marriage." "I know I messed up," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "But I can't lose my job over this. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake, you know that. Was it a mistake when you kissed him? Or was it a mistake the moment you decided to keep it a secret?" I shot back, feeling the anger rise again. "Please just listen to me," she pleaded. "I never wanted to hurt you. I love you, Jake." Those words stung. Did she really mean them? Or was she just saying what she thought would keep her job and salvage our marriage? I felt a dark void opening inside me, and I was terrified of where it might lead. I didn't want to fight with her, but I could sense the walls closing in around us. My heart still held a flicker of love for the woman I had married, but it was buried under layers of betrayal and resentment. I realized I had to decide what I wanted moving forward. Did I want to salvage this marriage, or was it time to let go? I felt trapped between the pain of betrayal and the love I still held in my heart. It was a crossroads, and I was lost, unsure of which path to take. The tension in our home was palpable. The air felt thick with unspoken words, and every conversation turned into a painful dance around the truth. Lisa and I were both walking on eggshells, navigating a minefield of emotions. I was still grappling with the decision I had made to send that video to her HR department. It was one thing to confront her about her infidelity, but another to watch her life unravel because of it. I felt a rush of guilt creeping in, but I quickly pushed it aside. The days turned into a week and the fallout began. I watched as Lisa's demeanor shifted from panic to defensive. She spent hours on the phone, likely trying to salvage her job and reputation. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction every time I witnessed her frustration. It was a mix of vindication and moral confusion. Part of me wanted her to suffer the consequences of her choices, but the other part of me mourned the love I had for her, the life we had built. One night after she came home late from yet another meeting with HR, I confronted her again. "Did you lose your job?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. "I don't know yet," she replied, her voice trembling. "They're conducting an investigation. They said it could take time." "Time? You've been caught cheating, Lisa. What do you think will happen?" Her eyes filled with tears and she looked vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen since all this began. "I messed up, okay? I made a terrible mistake. But I don't want to lose everything because of it. I love you, Jake. Can't we try to fix this?" Her words made my heart ache, but I remained cold. "You say you love me, but how can I believe that when you were willing to throw everything away for a moment of weakness?" She fell silent, and the guilt I had pushed aside began to bubble back up. I wanted to scream at her, to make her feel every ounce of pain I was experiencing, but instead, I felt helpless. I was caught in a cycle of anger and sadness that felt impossible to break. I spent more time alone, throwing myself into my work and avoiding conversations with her. I didn't want to sit across the table from the woman who had shattered my heart. I wanted to forget her laughter, her touch, the way she made me feel, like I was the only person in the world. But those memories haunted me. Then, one afternoon, while I was at the gym, I ran into an old friend, Matt. We hadn't seen each other in years, but as soon as we started talking, I found myself spilling everything. I shared my story, Lisa's infidelity, the video, and my decision to send it to HR. Matt listened patiently, nodding as I spoke. "Damn man, that's rough," he said. "But you've got to think about what you want. Do you want to keep fighting for her, or is it time to cut your losses and move on?" His question hit me like a ton of bricks. I hadn't really considered what I wanted beyond the immediate need for revenge. I had been so focused on making her feel my pain that I hadn't thought about my own healing. That night as I lay in bed, I replayed our memories together, the vacations, the laughter, the quiet moments. I remembered the way she used to look at me, the deep conversations we had, the plans we made for our future. But now that future felt like a distant dream, tainted by betrayal and lies. I realized I had two choices. I could either wallow in the pain of her betrayal or find a way to move forward. I needed to prioritize my own well-being. So I made a decision. I would confront her one last time, but this time, it would be different. I would demand honesty, not just about the affair, but about her feelings. And our future, I needed clarity. When I sat her down the next evening, I spoke calmly. "Lisa, we need to talk. I want us to be honest with each other. I need to know if you truly want to make this work or if you're just scared of losing everything." She looked at me with wide eyes, and for a moment I saw the real Lisa, the woman I fell in love with. "I want to fix this, Jake. I really do. I've made so many mistakes and I can't believe I let it get this far." "Then tell me why it happened. What were you feeling that made you think cheating was an option?" I pressed, wanting to understand the root of her betrayal. "I was feeling lost," she admitted, her voice shaky. "I thought I was doing everything right, but I felt disconnected from you. It was stupid and it doesn't excuse what I did, but I thought maybe a little excitement would bring me back to life. I didn't think it would turn into this." Her words hung in the air, heavy with regret. I could sense her genuine remorse, but I also felt the weight of betrayal still pressing down on my chest. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Lisa," I said, my voice breaking. "But I want to know if you're willing to put in the effort to rebuild what we had." She nodded vigorously, tears streaming down her face. "I'll do anything, Jake. I'll go to therapy, I'll be transparent. I just can't lose you." I took a deep breath, knowing this wouldn't be an easy journey, but there was a flicker of hope in her eyes that reminded me of what we once had. I wasn't ready to give up yet, but I needed to protect my heart while still allowing room for potential healing. "Let's take it one day at a time," I said softly, knowing this was just the beginning of a long and painful road. We had a lot to work through, and I wasn't sure if we could ever fully recover from this. But I was willing to try if she was. The days turned into weeks, and what had started as a chaotic upheaval began to transform into a tentative attempt at rebuilding. Lisa and I agreed to go to couples therapy, a decision that felt like both a lifeline and a heavy weight. I knew it would be a long process, filled with uncomfortable conversations and raw emotions. But part of me was hopeful. Maybe we could find a way back to each other, or at least, find a way to create a new, healthier dynamic. In therapy, Lisa was earnest and vulnerable, often breaking down in tears as she recounted her feelings of disconnection and dissatisfaction that led her to cheat. Each session peeled back another layer of hurt, exposing wounds we had both ignored. I listened, sometimes with anger bubbling beneath the surface, sometimes with a deep sadness that felt all-consuming. "I never wanted to hurt you," she would say, her voice choked with emotion. "I thought I could fix things by myself. I thought I just needed a spark." That spark had ignited a wildfire, and I struggled with the fact that her need for excitement had come at such a steep price. I often left therapy feeling drained, my heart heavy with the weight of her betrayal, but there were glimmers of hope too. I noticed small changes in Lisa. She was more attentive, more communicative, and seemed genuinely invested in working through our issues. But there were still moments when the anger flared up inside me, particularly when I would encounter reminders of the affair. A couple of times, I caught her texting late at night, and my stomach would twist with jealousy and fear. I still had the video saved on my phone, a dark reminder of what I had witnessed, and I found myself wrestling with whether to delete it or keep it as ammunition. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, I came home and sat at the dining table with Lisa. "I'm still struggling with this," I admitted, pushing my food around my plate. "It's hard to feel like I can trust you again when I have all these memories of betrayal." "I know," she replied softly, looking down at her hands. "I wish I could take it back, but I can't. I just want to prove to you that I'm committed to making things right." "Proving it will take time," I said, my voice steady but pained. "It's not something that can be fixed overnight. I need to see real changes, not just words." We agreed to keep open lines of communication, but it was a delicate balance. I often felt like I was walking on a tightrope. One side was the desire to repair our relationship, and the other was the fear of falling into despair if things didn't work out. The therapy sessions continued, and slowly, a new routine emerged. We began to share more of ourselves, not just the heavy stuff but the mundane details of our lives, the small victories and frustrations. I found solace in our shared laughter again, even if it felt like a fragile thread weaving back into place. But with each step forward, there were setbacks. One night, I noticed a change in Lisa's demeanor as she received a text. Her face fell, and I immediately felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. "What's wrong?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. "It's just work stuff," she said quickly, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. "Let me see," I insisted, the protectiveness flaring up inside me. "No, it's nothing," she replied, her voice rising defensively. "Don't shut me out like this, Lisa. I need to trust you. If there's something else going on, I need to know," I said, my heart racing. After a few moments of silence, she sighed, her defenses crumbling. "It's just a coworker asking about a project. I'm sorry," she replied, sounding exhausted. In that moment, I realized how fragile our connection still was. The past was never far from the surface, and no matter how much we tried to move forward, the specter of her infidelity loomed large. That weekend, we decided to take a mini trip to a cabin in the woods to get away from the chaos of our everyday lives. I thought the change of scenery might help us reconnect. As we settled in, I felt a flicker of hope. The fresh air, the quiet sounds of nature, and the cozy setting seemed like the perfect backdrop for a fresh start. But as evening fell, Lisa received another text. I could see the hesitation on her face, the way she bit her lip before looking at her phone. The tension in the air felt palpable, and I could see the shadows of doubt creeping back in. "Who is it this time?" I asked, unable to hide the irritation in my voice. "It's just my boss," she replied, but I didn't buy it. "Just show me, please," I said, a rising sense of desperation making my voice sharper. "I told you it's nothing serious." She snapped, and the frustration in her tone stung. "Then why can't I see it?" I shot back, feeling the anger boil over. The tension escalated quickly. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I stood my ground. "If you want me to trust you, you need to be honest with me." I can't keep doing this dance. Lisa's face flushed with anger and shame. I'm trying, Jake, but you keep digging and digging and it feels like nothing I do is ever going to be good enough for you. I threw up my hands in frustration. I don't want you to feel like you have to prove yourself, but I need to know you're not still hiding things from me. The fight spiraled out of control, and the air thickened with unresolved feelings. In a moment of frustration, I said something I regretted. Maybe we should just end this. If we can't get it together. The words hung between us like a guillotine, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. We both knew that was a line neither of us wanted to cross, but the pressure of our situation was becoming unbearable. That night, we went to bed in silence, the weight of our unresolved issues pressing down on us. I lay awake, questioning everything, the love I still felt for her, the trust that had been shattered, and whether I was strong enough to see this through. The next morning, I woke with a heavy heart. It was clear we needed to address our issues head-on, but I wasn't sure how to navigate the path forward. I knew we had a lot of work left to do, and the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Would we be able to rebuild, or were we fighting a losing battle? The following days after our blow-up were tense, to say the least. I woke up each morning feeling like I was wading through murky water, unsure of what lay beneath the surface. Lisa and I walked around the house like strangers, avoiding eye contact and small talk. I could sense we were both on edge, waiting for the other to make a move. I knew we needed to talk, to find a way to address the unspoken hurt that lingered in the air, but every time I thought about bringing it up, fear would grip me. What if we fell back into arguments? What if I couldn't handle the pain of reliving everything again? But deep down, I knew that avoidance wasn't a solution. We had to face this head-on if we ever wanted to come out stronger. Finally, I gathered my courage and suggested we sit down for a heart-to-heart. Lisa, we can't keep doing this. I feel like we're just going in circles and it's tearing me apart, I said gently, trying to maintain an open tone. She sighed heavily, her shoulders slumping. I know, Jake, I'm scared too. I don't want to lose you, but it feels like every time we try to talk, we just end up fighting. I get that, but we have to be honest about how we're feeling. I can't go on like this. I want to know that you're committed to fixing this, not just saying the words. I replied, hopping to bridge the gap between us. We agreed to sit down every evening for a few minutes to talk about our feelings and check in with each other. It was a small step, but I hoped it would help us regain some sense of connection. Our first few sessions were awkward, filled with stilted conversations and hesitant glances, but slowly we began to open up. One night, as we sat across from each other, I took a deep breath. I need to be honest with you about something. I still have the video of you and that guy. I haven't deleted it yet. Lisa's face fell and I could see the pain in her eyes. Why would you keep that? She asked, her voice trembling. Because it's a reminder of how badly you hurt me, I replied, my emotions spilling over. I thought about deleting it, but I haven't been able to bring myself to do it. I feel like it's a part of this mess we've created. She nodded slowly, tears welling in her eyes. I understand. I wish I could take it back, but I know I can't. I just want you to know that I'm doing everything I can to prove my commitment to you. Then let's work on this together. I don't want to keep holding on to the past, but I need you to show me that you're serious about our future, I said, watching as a mix of determination and sadness crossed her face. Over the next few weeks, we worked hard to rebuild our foundation. There were still painful moments when doubts would creep in, but we were learning to communicate better. I could see Lisa's efforts to be transparent and honest, and it made me want to believe in the possibility of healing. However, the most challenging part was still lurking beneath the surface. I realized that while I was working hard to forgive her, I was also wrestling with my own feelings of insecurity. Each time she received a text, a shadow of doubt would creep back in. One evening, during one of our check-ins, I decided to address it head-on. I want to talk about the texts you get from work. I know it's probably nothing, but it makes me anxious. I admitted, my voice steady but revealing my vulnerability. She looked at me with understanding. I get that, and honestly, I can't blame you. I've broken your trust, and I know it's going to take time to rebuild it. Can we set some boundaries around communication? Maybe you could let me know if something comes up that could be triggering for me, I suggested, hoping it would create a sense of safety for both of us. I'm all for that, she replied, nodding. I want you to feel secure. I'll make sure to let you know if something comes up that might worry you. Those small adjustments began to ease the tension, and I could feel the cracks in our relationship starting to mend. We started enjoying our evenings together again, watching movies, cooking dinner, and sharing laughter. I could see the change in Lisa. She was making an effort to be more present, more engaged. But the journey was far from over. One night, after a particularly good day, I went to bed feeling hopeful. I pulled out my phone and stared at the video I had saved. I contemplated deleting it. Was it time? It felt like a heavy anchor weighing me down. Yet at the same time, a part of me was terrified to let it go. As I sat there, lost in thought, Lisa came into the room. "What's wrong?" she asked, sensing my unease. "I'm just thinking about this video," I admitted, holding up my phone. "I don't know if I should keep it or delete it. It feels like a reminder of everything that went wrong, but it also feels like a part of this whole process." She sighed and sat down beside me. "Maybe it's time to let it go, Jake. You've been working so hard to move forward. Holding on to that could keep us stuck in the past." I pondered her words and finally nodded. "You're right. I don't want it to define us anymore." With a deep breath, I selected the video and hit delete. It felt liberating and terrifying all at once, but it was a step toward healing. In the weeks that followed, Lisa and I continued to navigate the challenges of rebuilding trust. We were learning that healing was not a linear path. It was filled with setbacks and advancements, moments of doubt and moments of hope. As the days passed, I began to feel a sense of normalcy returning. We were still a work in progress, but I felt more secure in our commitment to each other. I realized that while I could never erase the pain of betrayal, I was choosing to focus on the future we could build together, one step at a time. But just as I started to feel more confident, an unexpected twist would soon put everything to the test. As Lisa and I continued to work through our issues, I started feeling more hopeful. But just when I thought we were finding our footing, life threw us yet another curveball. It happened one Saturday afternoon. We decided to take a hike, hoping the fresh air and nature would help us reconnect. As we walked through the trails, I could feel a sense of peace settling in, something I hadn't felt in a long time. We talked and laughed about silly things, and for a moment, it felt like the shadows of our past were fading. But as we returned to the car, I noticed a missed call on Lisa's phone. It was from an unknown number, but what caught my attention was the expression on her face when she saw it. Her brows furrowed and she hesitated before putting the phone away. "Who was that?" I asked, my heart tightening instinctively. "It was probably a telemarketer," she replied, trying to brush it off, but I could see the tension radiating from her. "Are you sure? You seemed nervous," I pressed, my protective instincts kicking in. "It's nothing, Jake, really." But her voice lacked conviction. That evening, as we settled on the couch to wind down, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I tried to focus on a movie, but my mind kept wandering back to that missed call. The small voice of doubt began nagging at me again. Was she hiding something? Had she really changed, or was this just a temporary reprieve? Unable to hold back any longer, I asked, "Are you still in contact with him, the guy you cheated with?" Lisa's face turned white and her eyes widened in shock. "What? No. I swear I haven't spoken to him since everything happened, you know that." "Then why did you look so anxious about that call?" I demanded, feeling the familiar anger rising in my chest. "I don't know, it was just unexpected. I'm not hiding anything from you," she insisted, her voice raising defensively. "Then let me see your phone," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop myself. "Jake, that's not fair," she exclaimed, crossing her arms. "Why not? If you want me to trust you, then I should be able to see it. Just show me." A heated argument ensued. I was frustrated that, despite our efforts to rebuild, I still felt like I had to fight for transparency. Somewhere deep inside, I feared that the past wasn't truly behind us. Finally, Lisa threw her hands up in exasperation. "Fine, here." She handed me her phone and I swiped through it, frantically checking her messages, her calls, anything that would ease my mind. My heart sank as I saw a string of messages from a contact saved as new friend. The messages didn't seem inappropriate, but the mere fact that she hadn't mentioned this person made me feel betrayed all over again. I turned to her, my face a mix of disbelief and hurt. "Who is this?" I asked, my heart pounding. "It's just a coworker. We've been working on a project together," she explained hastily, but I could see the panic in her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me? You know how I feel about trust right now." "I didn't want to overwhelm you. I thought it would be better to keep things simple until I was sure about it." The walls I thought we were breaking down felt like they were being rebuilt in an instant. I feared that maybe this was a sign that we hadn't truly moved on. I felt a mix of anger and sadness, and the past flooded back into my mind, tainting the progress we had made. "Maybe we're just not ready for this," I said quietly, feeling a sense of defeat wash over me. Lisa's eyes widened and she moved closer to me. "Please don't say that. I'm trying so hard to fix my mistakes. I don't want to lose you." I wanted to believe her, but in that moment I felt a familiar ache in my chest. "I don't know if I can handle this again, Lisa. Every time I think we're getting better, something comes up that reminds me of what you did." We sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of our situation pressing heavily on us. I felt tears prick at my eyes as I processed everything. I had fought so hard to forgive, to trust again, but it felt like we were stuck in the same cycle of pain. "Maybe I need some time to think," I finally said, my voice trembling. Lisa looked at me with desperation in her eyes. "Please, Jake, I love you. I know I messed up, but I want to prove that I can be better. We can work through this." I took a deep breath, torn between the love I still felt for her and the fear of being hurt again. I needed to make a decision, and it felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. In the following days, I took the time to really reflect on what I wanted. I thought about our journey, the laughter, the tears, the moments of joy interspersed with the heartache. I realized that while the past would always be a part of our story, I couldn't allow it to bind me to a future filled with doubt and fear. One evening, as I sat on the couch alone, contemplating everything, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I needed to prioritize my own well-being and mental health. I couldn't keep living in a state of anxiety, constantly second-guessing everything that happened. When I finally sat down with Lisa, my heart was heavy but resolved. "We need to talk," I said gently, looking her directly in the eyes. She nodded, her expression solemn, bracing herself for what was to come. "I think we both need to spend some time apart. I need to figure out what I truly want, and I don't want either of us to feel trapped in this uncertainty," I confessed, my voice wavering. Her eyes filled with tears. "Jake, please don't do this. I love you. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I know you love me and I love you too, but love isn't enough to fix what's broken. I need space to heal and reflect," I replied, feeling a mix of sadness and relief wash over me. As I watched her face crumble, I felt my heart breaking for both of us, but deep down I knew it was the right choice. We couldn't heal in the same space, constantly tripping over the past. Sometimes distance is what allows you to gain perspective and clarity. After I made my decision, I moved into an apartment nearby, leaving Lisa in the house we had shared. It felt surreal to be living apart after everything we had been through. The emptiness of my new place echoed the hollow ache in my heart, but each day brought a bit more clarity. As the weeks passed, I focused on myself, working out, spending time with friends, and even picking up new hobbies. I spent hours reflecting on my emotions, documenting my thoughts in a journal and processing what had happened. In time, I began to feel a sense of healing and empowerment. I realized that while the love I had for Lisa was real, it didn't overshadow the importance of my own mental health. Eventually, I reached out to her, and we decided to meet for coffee. The atmosphere was tense, but I could see that we were both making an effort to remain civil. "I still love you, Jake," she said quietly, her eyes filled with emotion. "I know, and I still care about you too, but I've come to realize that I need to put myself first right now. I can't rush back into something that's still so fragile," I replied, feeling a mix of sadness and acceptance. We talked openly about the future, acknowledging that while we may not be together, we both had grown from the experience. It was a heartbreaking realization, but it also felt liberating to accept that sometimes love means knowing when to let go. As I walked away from that coffee date, I felt a weight lifted. It wasn't the ending I had imagined, but it was a new beginning for both of us. I learned that healing doesn't always mean returning to what once was. Sometimes it means finding strength in moving forward, even if it's alone. And while the scars of betrayal would always remain, they served as reminders of my resilience, a testament to my ability to choose myself, even in the face of heartache. In the end, I knew that I would be okay. Life would carry on, and with time, I would find joy again, whether that meant rebuilding with Lisa or embarking on a new journey entirely.